I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
You want Philly?
Chase Utley, you are the man.
You come out backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
The prayers have been answered.
How about those Eagles, baby?
And Rio Muto can run for days.
Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man?
A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia Phillies history.
All right, we are back with another Philly Talk episode. Obviously, the Eagles-Jets game happened and game one of the NLCS. But before we get into that, just quickly recapping some of the stuff that went on in the NFL. It was kind of a weird week in a sense. If you watched that Bengals-Seahawks game, it was like Seattle, just for whatever reason, could not, get it done. They had all these opportunities and they just couldn't get it done. The Browns came off with an upset win against the 49ers. No longer undefeated for the Niners. Pretty crazy stuff in that game. The Dolphins blew out the Panthers as expected, 42-21. The Rams beat the Cardinals 26-9. The Lions beat the Bucks 20-6, and they're looking like a real good team. The Bills beat the Giants just barely on Sunday Night Football. It was some pretty crazy stuff. The Cowboys beat the Chargers, and there was that whole thing of a fight right before the game. It was pretty weird stuff. But overall, it was just it wasn't the most interesting week. I don't remember any sort of big things happening. Injuries don't come to mind. CMC kind of had an injury scare. Hoping for the best there. I finally lost in fantasy, sadly. And the Rangers are up 2-0 on the Astros, which is always a good thing. But at the same time, you can't count that Astros team out. You can never really count any of the Astros out. And right as I'm talking about all this, I open my Instagram, and the first thing I see is that the Eagles have signed Julio Jones. Okay then. And the first comment is, can he play cornerback? That's a wild thought. Imagine telling an Eagles fan back in 2016 that they would sign Julio Jones. You would think you're getting prime Julio, but who knows? I'm not setting expectations too high, but that's pretty crazy to get that right here live on the episode. But yeah, like I was continuing on, you can't count out the Astros because of how dominant they've been. Yordan Alvarez is absolutely insane. Him and Bryce Harper have to be two of the best, current postseason players. Those two just turn it up a notch when it comes to the postseason, and it's absolutely insane. But moving on, talking about, of course, the main two teams. Got to talk about the Eagles versus Jets and the Phillies versus the Diamondbacks. All right, so starting off with the good of all that happened. You should come to expect the good for the Eagles-Jets game will be very short. It was just what I liked from this game was that we were continuing to get AJ the ball, which is always a good thing. AJ has looked really dominant these past couple of games, so I'm just glad that they're continuing to get him that ball, We got Zach Wilson, sacked him 5 times, That's a good thing. We're continuing to hold the rushing attack, under control. We did a real good job of stopping him. And Hassan Reddick has just turned into a whole new beast, easily getting back to his form from last year. He had 2.5 sacks this game. He looks absolutely great, He was doing great stuff out there. Phillies, Diamondbacks, game 1. A Schwarbomb to start off the game. I called it, man. I literally called it. We were sitting there, my dad and I was like, Schwarber, first pitch, home run to set the tone of this game. And he does it right off the bat. First pitch, absolutely insane. If you've been talking with Philly fans. You've heard it all. Us saying he's due for a big game. He's due for a big series. He didn't do much in the wild card in the NLCS, and it's very reminiscent of last year. Couldn't get it done in the wild card. Couldn't get it done in the NLCS or NLDS. I mean, for the most part, like he's had some stuff here or there, but he's clearly struggled. Gets it going. Now we're really just waiting for Alec Boehm to wake up, which, for the most part, he's done pretty well defensively, but obviously we need him to start doing well offensively, especially because, during the season, he was one of our best guys, when it came to, hitting with runners on base and in scoring position. He was real good at that stuff. Speaking of setting the tone, Harper comes up. He hits a home run. And then in the next inning, Castellanos hits another home run. 5 home runs in 3 games. Absolutely amazing stuff. Continuing what I was talking about in the last episode, Castellanos, they were interviewing him again, and he just kept saying the same thing about that the job's not finished. They got 7 more wins to go, and he doesn't really care about what he's doing right now. All he cares about finishing up. And it was something I noted to myself that when you watch these interviews from Castellanos, when you see his mindset going into the season, to me, it seriously seems like Castellanos is hell-bent on getting a ring this year. Especially because of the fact that, he fully remembers last year and his struggles, especially in the playoffs, how much he struggled and how much he struggled his first year here in Philadelphia. He just remembers that. And so now he's trying to do everything in his power to help with this team, to help this team to get to the big game, get to the big game again and finish the job this time, and I just love that energy from him. I love that accountability from him, he's holding himself to that standard, not wanting to get complacent, some great stuff from him. Wheeler was also great, I noticed someone say this, and it's kind of true. He does really good, and then you start getting to those middle innings, and he kind of struggles a bit, as seen by the fact that he gave up that 2-run shot. But, for the most part, you look at the rest of his stat line, he went 6 innings, only allowed 3 hits, and struck out 8 guys. And up until that hit, he had gone 15 batters without allowing a hit. So that was pretty insane stuff from Wheeler. Alvarado's been looking real dominant. As I was talking with my dad, they might want to move him back a bit and switch him with Kimbrel, because we'll get into Kimbrel later, but they might want to move him back into that closing position. But maybe it's just a thing of, because he's a lefty, they want to play it strategically on when they want to use him later on. But he's been doing real good coming in these early innings and doing well. And overall, the team did a great job of getting on base, But as with everything, while there is good, there is also bads. And trust me, when it comes to that Eagles-Jets game, there was a lot of bad. So, to save that for later, let's start off with the Phillies Diamondbacks game 1. Some of the bads, Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's looked great in this postseason until this game, where he really struggled and started looking like, regular season Sir Anthony Dominguez. He was really struggling, hoping that was just, a bad inning for him and he can continue to come in for relief and do really well like he was doing up until this point. Another thing was, we just keep leaving these runners on base, and especially in scoring position. I keep saying it. This is going to come back to bite us, just like Game 2 in Atlanta. And honestly, I'm convinced the Phils are just waiting for it to blow up in their face in one of these games in order for them to make that change, It's just absolutely baffling to me that, this keeps happening so often. It's been such a prevalent issue, and they've struggled to just fix it, Another thing, I mentioned it before, Craig Kimbrel. He's been really struggling to close out for whatever reason, and this was another scary moment. Don't know what it is, but he's just kind of struggled a bit, and he was especially struggling to get the ball in the zone, but he gets out of it. Double play to end the game, which was a beautiful double play. But yeah, he has really struggled a ton when it comes to coming into close. Like, I wouldn't say like it's a full struggle, but it's just like it's always scary watching him go in there. But no, he gets the job done. We can move on. Game 2 later today after this episode goes up. But definitely just a lot to look forward to with this series. It's going to be a good one. But the main event of the video, Jalen, what the hell were you even doing out there, my guy? 3 picks? 3. And not only him, we got Smithy dropping catches. We got the Eagles stop running we have the Eagles that, they just stopped running the ball. I think I was looking at it. It was like, I want to say it was only like 20 attempts. Like, looking at it, let's see. Hurts had 8 attempts. Swift had 10. Gainwell had 2. Boston Scott had 2. So, like, that's 22 in comparison to the 45 attempts they had throwing the ball. Absolutely disgusting ratio, especially when it comes to a team that is very good at rushing the ball. There was also only one pass to AJ in the 4th quarter. What is going on? Brian Johnson seriously needs to figure it the hell out, man. It's absolutely unacceptable that the offense had a game like this. It was absolutely terrible. I mean, come on, man. 3 picks from Hurts was absolutely terrible. This just was a terrible game, man. And, like, the injuries obviously killed us, but, like, that is not an excuse, man. Like, I get it. We didn't have Jalen Carter. We didn't have, who was on the injury reserve this game? I'm trying to remember. We didn't have Jalen Carter. I don't think we had Darius Slay, I don't think. Yeah, no, I think Darius Slay was out. Lane Johnson went out during the game, I believe. So there was some injury effects to us. But then it was like, the Jets were down 3 starting corners, I'm pretty sure, with the biggest one being Sauce Gardner was out. And obviously AJ goes and has himself a game, but like, like he was at 7 catches for 131 yards. He had himself a game, but like, how do you not capitalize more? How do you only score 14 points in this game and only one of them was a passing touchdown to DeAndre Swift, of all people, How do you only get 14 points on this team? How do you only score the 14 points in the first half, Baffling stuff from this team. I just couldn't believe what I was watching this game, man. It was, again, absolutely unacceptable game. They should just be ashamed of themselves. But looking forward, I feel like I'm repeating myself out here, when I say this, but the Eagles seriously need to address the safety position. It wasn't as much of a factor in this game, but look at that upcoming schedule, man. You have to do something. Next week against Miami, I'm calling it a loss, man. I know I originally said it was going to be a win, but nah, man. Not after this week. You play like that, you're losing the shootout against Miami, which is what I expected to be, but nah, you aren't competing against Miami if you play like this. Like, absolutely terrible stuff from that Eagles team this week. Game 2 against the Diamondbacks, you gotta take the same approach, man. You gotta attack Merrill Kelly from the get-go. No slowing down. Treat it like Game 3 against Atlanta and just keep those runs coming in. Nola, time for another legacy game, my man. We need to keep the bullpen preserved for games 3 and 4, so we need a strong outing, man. I need at least 7 innings from Nola. And it all depends on how long the NLCS goes, but there may be another Philly Talk episode before next Tuesday. But again, it just depends on how things go. But that's all for this week of Philly Talk. It's week 6, and I'm already running out of ways to incorporate the brotherly shove jokes, man. It's kind of like how NFL defenses are running out of ideas on how to stop the Eagles from running that play.